Hello, Eyal. How are you this fine evening?
I'm
Oh,
doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Long weekend, but I'm not long week, but I'm okay.
Yeah, I was going to say people don't usually complain about a long weekend.
It shows its other lines what status is my mind right now. But whenever we talk about music, I'm always laser focused. And we
Good.
have, man, I wanted to check my promos back then when we were actually getting CDs to see the first Death promo that I had, and it must have been I think the Hinderers, I want to say. Where I'm going with this, and this is the obvious question, right? Why did it take so long to hear new music from Death?
Well, because we were on hiatus. So,
Ooh.
are you wondering why the hiatus took
Right.
14 years?
Mhm.
Okay. So basically it's complicated, but I mean, look, happy bands don't go on hiatus the same
Mhm.
way that happy couples don't get divorced. Like if a band breaks up or goes on hiatus, there's a reason or many reasons. So there was no future for us anymore, the way that things were going.
Okay.
Um, so uh, it had to end. Now, it wasn't my decision to end it, even though I started the band. It's my band. I could do what I wanted with it at the time. I didn't feel like I could do it with any other people. And and that was a very real feeling to me then. And even though now I did it with different people, I think it's a totally different situation. There were some great musicians back then, but not like there are now. And I had the question in my mind of, well, who would I do it with? Like anyone great in the scene is in some huge band. Like I don't, and the dudes in the previous lineup are amazing. They're amazing musicians. Like the previous Dååth lineup are some of the best musicians on the planet. So what am I gonna do? Like I'm not gonna get people in that suck or who aren't as good. So I just didn't know what to do, and so went along with the hiatus. I tried to restart it a few times over the years, didn't work. Um, the last time it didn't work was 2020. So I tried in 11, 12, 13. We talked about it, I think, in like 17. And then in 2020, I tried again, nothing. And in 2021, when I decided I was doing it, this time I decided I'm doing it no matter what, no matter who's doing it with me. Uh, this is the time. It's now or never. I'm not gonna wait until I'm 50 or 60 to do this. Like,
Right.
still have years of energy and passion and ability to do it, and I want to do it. This is happening now, with or without anybody. So if I have to do it alone, I'll do it alone. If the old lineup wants to do it with me, they can do it with me. If not, find new people. It's happening, and that's why it took so long. So from the moment that just made the decision, September, October 2021, till we handed in the record, the finished copy of the Deceivers to the label, that was October of 2023. So it took 2 years, like almost exactly, from deciding I'm going to do this
Mhm.
to writing the record, getting signed, uh, getting the lineup, and handing in the record.
Wow, I was not prepared for this because my follow-up question was what was the sparkle that relit the fire? But apparently there were a lot of many sparks in between to
Well,
get.
I was never happy.
Mm.
It bothered me every single day. And, I had fans contacting me every day for over a decade. I was getting contacted about it. So, like it's one thing to move on from a project that nobody cares about whatsoever. But the fact is that I felt like it was unfinished. Like I felt like we stopped right as we were finally starting to get somewhere, we stopped. And like I know that if we had kept going and put out another album like in 2012 or something and kept going, that like things would have been better for us. And because that's the trajectory for a lot of metal bands. It's like takes a few albums for the metal audience to start accepting you. So we were starting to get to that point, and the reason I know that was because of our merch sales. Our
Mhm.
merch sales were finally starting to be respectable on those last few tours we did. They were finally not sad and super depressing. They finally that's how the metal audience shows you how they feel about you,
Yeah.
is if they're buying your merch or not. So it was finally starting to turn around, and then we stopped. And so I always felt like uh this could have been one of the great bands, and we stopped right as things were getting good, and it just bothered me every single day. So yeah, that it was not just one spark suddenly out of nowhere.
Apparently, yes. Um, did you get the lineup and then started working on the music for the Deceivers?
No, music started working on the music, and then the lineup came together as we went along. So like I said, that is getting the lineup. Uh, when you think about replacing the previous lineup, that's not a simple thing.
Of course.
And then also you have to factor in that fans have been waiting for what in their mind was
Mm.
Dååth
Yeah,
this whole time. And fans didn't know how it worked in Dååth because we never talked about it. So I don't think many fans knew that I wrote just about all of the music or that it was my band or anything like that. Like I think they had some impression of how it worked that was divorced from reality. And so when changing a lineup, I wanted to give the fans a lineup that they could feel good about and love, and that also would do justice to the music and would help us make what I think is, and a lot of people think, is our best record ever. And so I think that, you finding people who check off all the boxes, great players, great writers, very creative, also have something else going on, understand how things work in the band, respect the band, love the direction, all those things. That's there's not that many people in the world, and we wanted to find people that had all of those qualities to them. So
that's
it took a moment.
at moment it
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of yeah, because on the understand, because you had to bridge the gap, right? The 13 years of studio silence, you have to bridge that. However, how did you have what was your vision with the music, and how did you communicate with the rest of the lineup right now and say, hey, this is how I think Dååth should be moving, and let's give it to everyone in the same, moving towards the same direction?
Well, see, that's the thing is we didn't have to have many of those conversations because we're the people that are in the lineup are already naturally uh they're just they naturally we communicate a lot. um like we have really good communication, but that exact conversation that you're suggesting, it wasn't like we tried people out, accepted them, and then said, hey, this is how things work and how it's going to be.
I wasn't
it,
implying that.
it was already it was organic the way that we did it. So like for instance with Krim, we approached him in a no strings attached kind of way. Like, why don't we try writing a few songs together, not like a session drummer,
Mhm.
like just pretend like we're in a band together. Cause he liked Dååth. He was a fan of it. So he thought that it would be cool to try and write some new stuff together. And, and, and yeah, we said, look, no, we'll just do a couple songs or three, one, two, three, whatever we come up with, get it recorded and mixed, but like no strings attached. We'll just see what happens. So that made it easy for him and for us because he's a busy dude. He's got a lot going on. So do we. And we didn't want to just like jump into bed with some dude that we don't know. So that, and it was kind of the same with Rafael Trujillo. Like, I mean, obviously he was a great guitar player, like unbelievable, but can we work well together? How are his ideas, all that stuff? So we took it in stages. Like first we offered him a guest solo on No Rest, No End. He did great. And also like I threw him some ideas towards the end of that solo, like that whole melody section, uh, like was a little collaboration between me and him, like the melody at the very end of his solo, and um, and he was very, very receptive to my ideas and very cool about it. So I thought, all right, that's awesome. And then we offered him the Philosopher guest solo. He did great on it, and then when we were writing the album, uh we had Ascension actually was unfinished, and so I gave him the first half of it and said, "Hey, why don't you see what you can do with this? Like,
Mhm.
if make it better. If you hate a riff, feel free to delete it and write a better one. If you love a riff, feel free to do nothing. Like, just what would you do?" Uh, and what he gave back was amazing. It was fantastic. It totally respected what I did, but he made it better, but he also left certain things alone. And it was just it was great. And so, that was over the course of a year that happened. So where
Yeah.
we also made friends, like also like had him do some guitar videos for Riff Hard and like got to know him. So, Dave Marvuglio, the first three songs he did as a just as a session guy, and that's how we got to know each other. So it was it wasn't just like we approached guys out of nowhere to join the band. It was we took it in stages.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that honestly that makes a ton of sense. So, what about the orchestrations now? This is something new for Death, right? To
No,
an extent, I mean,
I mean, look, we have orchestrations on the Hinderers.
yes.
There's three songs on the Hinderers that have orchestration from start to finish. Um, and there's synth on every single Doth album, some more than others,
Mhm.
but the Hinderers has songs that are basically almost electronic music with some guitars. The Futility album, same thing. Concealers, not so much. And then the self-titled has synth all over it. So we've always brought in other elements. The thing is, what you hear on Doth now with the amount of orchestration is really where I always wanted to go with the band.
Mhm.
And so when we decided to do this, like we see this like a miracle that this is happening. We're talking that got to hold the vinyl that this even happened, and we treated the record like we don't know that we're going to ever get to make another one. Um, it's amazing that this is even happening. Like we'd like to make another one, but the fact that this one is happening is such so crazy. We're going to do everything we always wanted to do, uh as if it's the last one we'll ever make. And one of the things I always wanted for Doth was huge orchestrations. And it just so happens that one of my best friends in the world, Jesse Zaretti, is a fan of Doth from the old days, uh a really good guitar player, and of he composes for like Riot Games, for like Marvel, like Universal, and we're we have like the exact same tastes almost. And he's one of the ones who really pushed me to get the band going. So um the if I had known Jesse before, I would have tried to get him in the band before, if I knew him in the old days. So it's a very natural thing for us to do this. So I don't consider it a new element. I think if people actually go back to the Hinderers and listen to the song The Hinderers, or Under a Somber Sign, or Festival Mass Soul Form, or Cosmic Forge, it's very clear that this is a direction the band always had in it.
Yeah, well, I think when I said that they have more room, let's say, they have a louder voice now. Uh,
Yes.
so that's what I had in mind. And boy, I was watching a video with you and Jesse. you were basically talking about the orchestrations only for no rest, no end for the
Yep.
URM YouTube channel. And I, so many layers. How much time did it take all this? Because he was taking a small segment and he had so many things to do and say about that. So how long did it take the entire process?
You mean the entire process of orchestration or of
Correct.
the whole record?
Orchestration, yeah.
Well, I don't know because I didn't do the orchestration. So, um, all I did was uh write music, and give feedback.
Hmm.
But like Jesse did the orchestration.
Okay.
So I don't know how long it took him because I wasn't with him, but I do know that the first version of No Rest No End, he got back to me within 2 or 3 days, and usually, he will do like the first version of a song, like it takes like 4, 5, 6 days,
Hmm.
maybe a week. But then once we're like going back and forth on like a song that we actually are going to complete, he can get the revisions back in a day or two. He's
Okay.
fast.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you for in the song with Ill Desire,
Hmm.
somewhere in the middle, there is some sort of an Easter sounding melody. And I'm not sure if it's played with the guitar. I don't think so. So is this synth or did you use another instrument there?
So it is guitar. There is guitar doubled with sitar.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That sounds so cool.
Thanks. Like, so there's a lot of stuff on the record that you might not think is guitar doubled with something else.
Okay. Oh,
Like in No Rest No End, for instance, in the chorus, there's this melody that a lot of people think is a synth, and there is a synth, but it's also a guitar layered in octaves. It's this blend. It's one big sound of a synth plus a guitar. There's that all over the record. But though with Ill Desire in particular, what you're talking about, good ear. But yeah, it's a guitar lead doubled with a sitar.
don't tell anyone. I was thinking that was a bouzouki, but don't tell anyone.
Okay.
um, so this is a type of albums that you need to start listening at least the first time around with a good set of earphones, right? You need to really get because you have so many layers. It will be such a shame to not take notice of those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if you just want to like experience it like in a headbanging kind of way, then if
Eventually.
anything will work. But like if you want to take in all the details, like really, really all the full experience, probably either super high quality speakers or headphones. The only reason I'm saying that I think it'll sound good on anything. Because sometimes we used to say that, oh, that's a headphone album for albums with really
Yeah.
bad mixes. But the mix on it is stellar. It's just there's so much detail
Hmm.
in it, and some of the detail is very, very subtle in the background. So to really hear it, you need to headphones or really good earbuds or really high quality speakers are best.
Well, with the speakers, I don't think the neighbors will appreciate that in some cases.
No, no, probably not.
What about Hexan ending? This was apparently the first time you used an eight string.
Yeah, literally within the first 15 minutes of using an 8 string.
Oh, wow. Wow.
It's it was just one of those songs that came out like, I guess, when people think of what inspiration is, um like to me it's like, sorry, I almost smell something. It was almost, I see that as a bonus. Like it's a gift you get when that happens, when you sit down to write and it all just comes out like
Mhm.
almost finished form. That doesn't happen all the time. This was just one of those lightning strike moments where it just came out in like 4 hours, and the version you hear is not that different than the original version.
Okay.
Like it's very, very close. I mean, you know, there were the original, like Jesse then added his orchestration. And then once Krim showed me what he was doing, like maybe we like refined the guitars a little bit, but 90%, 95%, like it's exactly like the very first version.
Wow. Um, what about the lyrics and how the deceivers, the hinderers, and then the concealers are connected? How did you make that connection before even starting working on the lyrics?
Well, the we didn't settle on the title till afterwards,
Okay.
but the one thing that we did know was that we wanted to continue the next step in that, basically in that set, I guess, of the, so it was going to be a the something name for sure. And the thing is that we know that Dååth fans and us too uh are, you know, the self-titled album is people's least favorite album of ours too. And um a lot of people don't even consider it. And it, like, it has its moments, but lots of people feel like that was kind of like taking a huge left turn.
Mm.
um I, like I said, I think it has its moments, but overall that was definitely a band about to break up. And we wanted to basically make the name a statement that was very, very clear that this is that same band from the Hinderers and
Mm.
the Concealers, and it's continuing in that exact tradition of those records.
Yeah,
So it was more about just make just it in the name itself, connecting it. And with, as far as the lyrical themes go, like I said, we named it afterwards because we didn't want to say it's going to be the Deceivers and we're going to talk about this. It's more like we're going to make these songs, and then there's a common theme in them, and this is the name that fits. But so the only thing that we knew, it was going to be the next step in that lineage, I guess, of albums.
makes sense. I don't know. I don't want to get much of your time, so um, let me ask about touring. What are the Dååth plans for touring? Both sides of the Atlantic.
We plan on doing it. That's the plan. So we have booking, um, and we're working on it. It's we're the thing is, uh, we it's very difficult to get the band all together. You know,
Mhm.
we've got two members in Austria, one in Boston, one in Atlanta, one in Milwaukee, one in Austin, Texas. Um, and everybody has things going on. Uh, However, everybody's into doing this. So we just have to, it has to be tours that make sense, where we feel like it's going to actually allow us to give the best show possible, and also will be a good way to evolve the band. Um, as opposed to just, there's some tours you can take that are not good for anybody because the types of venues or the length of the tour or whatever. We want tours that are appropriate for where we're at, but we're working on it and we're planning on it. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and especially after the pandemic, even though it's been some years now, everybody's touring. It has become such an insane situation trying to catch
Dude.
up with all the those shows. No venues. There are not so many venues that can have shows, right? So it's
And
crazy.
it's super expensive to tour
Oh
now
yeah. Oh yeah.
because after the pandemic, most of the crew members found other careers,
Correct.
and a whole lot of them didn't come back. And
Hmm.
that's from like bus drivers to techs to you name it. And so just the cost of everything is sky high and there's less of it. So just finding available vehicles to tour in, it's not like it used to be. The pandemic really, really changed things. And then you have the world situation where there's always some new war or some new crisis that drives the price of goods or gasoline up. And so that's why I'm saying we have to be very strategic about what tours we take, because the it's not like we can just jump in a van for $100 a night and make $100 in merch and somehow make it to the end of the tour. Like that's just not realistic in our current world.
Yeah, and I don't want us to sound like we are complaining. It's just describing the real situation, so
Yes,
people
yeah.
have their expectations.
Well, I think if they knew that, like, we're talking about expenses of $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000 per day to be out there, like that's the reality of it. Even if you're not renting a bus or just get a bandwagon or something, you're looking at expenses of over $1,000 a day every single day.
Yeah,
So, if knowing that that's the truth, if if you do a tour, you need to make sure that there's the right reasons, or that it's the right tour, that it's going to be worth that because it's expensive.
absolutely. One bonus question. You released two covers, the Morbid Angel and the Death
Yep.
one. Are there any plans to put them in any physical format?
Not yet, but we've always done covers.
Mhm.
We've done covers back to the early days, and we have more that we're planning on doing, and possibly, like, it could happen for sure.
I'm thinking vinyl to make it specific.
Yeah, it could happen. There's no plan of it yet, but we need to have enough covers to fill the vinyl first.
Okay. There
Yeah.
are always the 7 inches, but yeah, I understand the economics and anyhow. I'm speaking selfishly, let's say.
No, I mean, it would be cool. I think it would be really cool.
Eyal, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I hope to see that live here in Chicago.
I hope so too. I would love to see you in Chicago. Thank you.
Let's plan on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night and keep doing that.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great night too.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.